Warning. Incoming game over. Warning. Incoming game over. Warning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Over Ottawa. Today was a pretty damn good game for the Ottawa Senators against the Minnesota Wild as the Sens come out with a 6-0 win. Absolutely dominant performance by your Ottawa Senators. I mean, what else can you say about this team right now? That's another shutout. I think we're on shutout number 8 on the season for the entire team. And we've reached game, I think, 52 or 53 at this point of the season. We're right in the smack in the middle of things, right? So we're kind of just pushing through for the next couple of games, and then we got a nice break before the Four Nations tournament where Brady Tkachuk and Linus Ullmark will be in it, but that will be it. Man, where do I even start with this game tonight? Like, this team is good. They are good. They're not riding a hot streak. They're not just, getting key goals at key times and getting a little puck luck. No, this team is a good team from top to bottom because Linus Ullmark hasn't been in the lineup. He has not been in the lineup since December 22nd. And you know what? If he doesn't play in the next game, I don't care. I don't care because I trust the players tremendously. Every single player on this roster right now. I am absolutely loving it. It's unfortunate Jensen's not in the lineup, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Matt and Paolo, Hamonic, they're going to step in and do their job. From top to bottom, this team is so good defensively, and tonight, I mean, the offense came alive, and that's the thing. What I was always saying for the past, 10 games or so when this team was struggling to score goals was that they were taking one step back, but they were taking 2 steps forward. And that's what's ideal. Because this team always had the talent. They always had the talent every single game. When you have Tim Stützle, you have Brady Tkachuk, you have Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, Sanderson, Shabbat. Like, the list goes on, right? The talent was always there. The pieces were always there. And you know what? Shout out Pierre Dorian for bringing those pieces in. And the team overall and a lot of the core players just needed to learn how to play defense just a little bit. Just a little bit. And it took a little while. And here they are. They're established in the league now. They have a record of 28, 20, and 4. So this team's not around 500 anymore. They're 8 games. Like, they have to go on a sizable losing streak to really bottom out and be out of the playoff conversation. Now, I'm not going to say, the Sens are going to make the playoffs because until they actually clinch a spot, I'm not going to get too excited and talk about playoff matchups and, are we going to win the division now? No, because I think the Leafs did win tonight. Florida won. Boston also won. So it's going to be a tough last 30 games or so for the Sens because there's a lot of teams in the East that are doing very well right now and no one's going to really give up. But the thing is, the Sens are doing their best at keeping their team in the fight. They really are. I don't even know where to start here because this from top to bottom was a dominant performance for the Sens. I believe they outshot the Wild 52-16, right? Like, we knew they could keep shots down overall defensively. But the thing is that they kind of lost that offensive spark for a little bit, and that's okay. I think every team kind of goes through the motions in a season. They're not going to be scoring 5 goals a game. And first 10 minutes or so, not really a whole lot was happening. The Sens had some good chances. I believe Brady hit the post early on, and Philip Gustafson was in net for the Minnesota Wild today. So former Sens goaltender and former Sens prospect as well. And the Ottawa Senators just they come alive, basically. In my game notes here, right? Lauko, high stick, Stützle. The Sens, they have a good power play there, but failed to score, unfortunately. Perron had a good chance to bury one midway through the second period with a nice pass from Shabbat. And then there's a little tussle between Marcus Foligno and Zach Ostapchuk. And we're going to get into Hartman later because, man, the Wild were a bunch of babies tonight, that's for sure. Ostapchuk and Foligno get into a little scrum after the whistle. And for some reason, Ostapchuk gets the extra. Maybe he said something. I'm not really sure. But the Wild go to the power play. Sorry, and Jake Sanderson sends a long shot down the ice, and Marco Rossi decides to knock the puck out of the air at his blue line, but the puck slows down, and Josh Norris just comes in flying with ultimate speed. This guy is one of the fastest skaters on this team, and Josh Norris has been excellent over these past 5 games or so. And he goes forehand, backhand, tucks it by Gustafsson. The amount of momentum a team can get from scoring a shorthanded goal is immeasurable because you don't get them that often. But it's to the equivalent of having a guy scoring his first goal in the league. It just gives you that little extra step and gives you a lot of momentum, and that's what Josh Norris does for this team. Gets his second shorthanded goal in 2 games because he scored last game against Washington back on Thursday. Like I said, Norris is playing amazing. He's off the first power play, but he's still figuring out ways to be a great player overall for this team. And I don't want to hear any trade rumors from this guy from now on. But then Liam Ogren sets a pick in the neutral zone, and the Sens will head to the power play starting the second period. As we head into the second, Timmy takes a trip on Joel Eriksson Ek, and Boldy on the power play actually hits the post after getting a nice feed there. So it could have been 1-1 there for the Wild, and you never know because the Wild coming into this game had a record of 25-3 on the road. That is phenomenal. You sometimes see teams that have that record at home because they can use the momentum to their favor, but on the road, that's hard to do. So you have to respect that for the Wild, and they put in a lot of good work this year, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to be as good as they are right now. But the Wilds, overall in their history, have always been a well-structured team. They just never had the high-end talent to really get them that far. And we saw, tonight they didn't have Kirill Kaprizov in the lineup, so they were definitely struggling a fair bit. As he was in MVP conversation for not that long ago. And then Middleton takes a cross-checking penalty, and then Foligno and Zub, the puck goes down in the Sens zone, and Zub's going back to get it. He kind of runs into Foligno a little bit, and then Foligno just sort of wraps his arm around him, and Foligno didn't do anything to what Hartman did to the extent so far in this game, but I'm like, come on, man. What are you doing out there? And Foligno was in the mix a little bit, that's for sure, throughout the game, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But then, it's 4-on-4, and Jake Sanderson has the puck at the point. He retreats, he goes all the way back, and feeds it over to Tim Stützle in the neutral zone. He comes in, he passes it over to Brady Tkachuk, who's on the right side, and it's a little give and go. Tim Stützle goes to the net, and you love to see that because Timmy historically has been a perimeter guy, and Timmy takes the feed from Brady Tkachuk, and it's just an easy tap in. A great goal from the two of them. I don't know about a lot of people in the chat, but those guys, they haven't really connected for a lot of goals. I would love to see the stats going forward to see how many goals Tim Stützle has assisted on Brady Tkachuk's goals. Or sorry, how many goals Brady Tkachuk has scored and Tim Stützle has assisted on it. And vice versa, because they got put back together a couple games ago, and I mean, those are your two best forwards, so you kind of want that to happen. And then makes it 2-0 right for the Sens, and Timmy was buzzing this game. And then shortly after that, I believe just under a minute later, the third line, the Amadio, Pinto, and Greg line has been great. Please keep them together because they're the shutdown line right now, and they're playing some very good hockey. Pinto kind of just chucks it in behind the net. Ridley Gregg centers it out front. Amadio tucks his third on the season. Amadio hasn't been the best player, I guess, this year. but is responsible defensively, and you can trust him out there on any shift. So love to see that from Amadio. Well-deserved goal. I think that was his first goal in 26 games. So definitely a slump there. I think his last goal was against Boston, I think. Back in like November in that game against Boston on the road. So it's been a while, and then he had that injury which he sustained against Vancouver. But the Sens make it 3-0, and at that point you're starting to run away with it, right? And then Ryan Hartman, oh man, sure, like you can respect it that he's trying to spark his team a little bit because the Wild really showed no emotion tonight, and I think they kind of were just going to take the loss regardless because coming into this game they were on a 4-game winning streak. But Ryan Hartman decides to try and fight Travis Hamonic. Okay, so you're trying to fight our 7th defenseman or 6th defenseman. Even if you want to do that, that's a decent trade-off. Hartman is better than Hamonic. I'll say that. But Hartman, man, you're not doing very well this season with just 17 points in 48 games. So eventually that sends... Right after that, though, right? Actually, I'll touch on this first. The Sens actually go to the power play, and they're feeling it at this point because Batherson hits the post on the power play. We were trying to snap his goalless streak tonight because I think it's been 10 games, and he scored against Pittsburgh. But he's been in a kind of a big slump. He hasn't been playing bad, but it's just overall he hasn't really found that goal-scoring touch, which is a little bit odd because I don't think it wasn't as bad as Brady's like big point streak as he had. But Brady actually had a great chance right after that. One-on-one with Bogosian. He protects the puck. He fakes going one way. He goes around him and almost sneaks it through the pads of Gustafsson, but it's still 3-0 Sens. And then really at the end of the period, you have a face-off between Ryan Hartman and Tim Stützle. Ryan Hartman is in the defensive zone. Stützle is in the offensive zone. And a little bit of a tussle, and then for whatever reason, Hartman decides to hold Stützle from the top of his head and shove him down into the ice. Knocks his helmet off. I don't know if he meant to do that, but Stützle goes face first into the ice. He's bleeding. He gets off him. It actually happened so quick when it was happening live. I was like, what just happened there? Because Timmy looked kind of annoyed, and I like how he just didn't go back at him. Just own up to it, right? You're winning 3-0. There's no reason for you, Tim Stützle, to get off the ice and take a penalty. When the game was still 3-0, so the Sens were probably going to win regardless, but you never know, right? The Wild are a good team. And Hartman gets a match penalty. And I believe I was trying to read his lips towards the end of that sequence when they handed out that match penalty at the end of the second period. And I think he said effing wuss. So I don't know why he thinks that, because he also has some sort of history in the league, as last year he also did a very similar thing to Cole Perfetti. But he gets a match penalty. So the Sens, they head to the second intermission with a 3-0 lead. So a tie saying, how many games there's no respect for something like that, and Hartman slew-footed him first. Yeah, so that's originally what knocked down Stützle to the ice in that sequence. So what are you going to do, I guess, right? When you're the Sens in that situation, you just kind of have to be the bigger man. That's what you got to do. You're up 3-0. You're on home ice. The last game before this 4-game road trip that's going to be coming up, you kind of just want to get out there and you want all your star players to be, healthy at the end of the day. So the Sens head to the third period with a 3-0 lead, but then they also have a 5-minute power play that's coming up. So let's start off with the 4-0 goal, I guess, right? The Sens are just whipping it around, and Sanderson at the point tries to feed a shot through, and I believe it ended up crediting to be Sanderson's goal, who we'll touch on later. This guy had a great game tonight. And scores, makes it 4-0. We want Fleury chance start raining in at the CTC. And shortly after that, Claude Giroux comes in down the middle, drops it off. Brady Tkachuk on a 3-on-2 on the power play. Brady Tkachuk gets a goal by Philip Gustafson. How are ya? And then Jacob Middleton decides to elbow Pinto. I'm not sure why. Maybe he was just annoyed that his team was down, but the former Ottawa 67 goes to the box at the same time as the match penalties going on, and the Sens going to 5-on-3. And I wonder if this was sort of a drawn-up play to get Batherson on the board, but Sens are just whipping it around, Stützle, Sanderson, and eventually Stutz is at the top of the key and feeds it over to Batherson on the left side for a one-timer being the right shot. And a nice goal there for Drake as he the slump's over for him. And we got to use him more in that position on the power play, I think, because Drake is a guy who always played that position. I think earlier on in his career, especially in Belleville, for one. But when he came up to the Sens, I believe he was always playing the half wall on the left side there, and then a couple seasons into his career, they started shifting him to the middle, more of as a net front or a slot kind of player, because he's very useful in every position on the power play. His IQ offensively is fantastic. He has great vision. He always has had that. His puck skills are tremendous, and he has a good shot. He doesn't really use it as much, I don't think, as some may want, but it's not to the point like Timmy, who just refuses to shoot the puck. That's something we're going to have to work with, because if Tim Stützle shoots the puck more going forward, then he's going to be like an 100-point player in this league every single day of the week. That makes it 6-0 though for the Sens, and Timmy picks up his third point of the night, and Jake Sanderson picks up his fourth. Dominant night by Jake Sanderson, and it's nice to see him get on the board offensively a little bit more, because this season has been a little bit of everything for Sanderson, but he's not going to be individually the best guy to create offense, but he gets the puck from point A to point B, and that the Sens have an insanely talented forward core when it comes to their power play. So Sanderson's the perfect guy at the point because he's fast. He reads the play well, and unlike Chabot, I feel like can hold on to the puck a little bit too long, but Sanderson makes those nice quick plays, and I think that's the reason why Sanderson is on power play number one, because when Sandy came into the league to start off, he was actually on the second unit, and then eventually, I think around last year, they made that switch, and haven't really looked back since. So makes it 6-0. And then you just got to lock it down, right? You got to get out of there completely healthy. And, to start sending out the third and fourth lines a lot. I think Matt and Paolo and Clevin got like 16 minutes tonight, so that's good. I think Ostapchuk, Gaudette, Highmore, I think they got 12 to 13, so that's nice to see. The Norris situation, though. Not good. Not good. I don't know. It looked like he was limping going off of the ice, so that is good. Well, not good, but it's it's good that it wasn't, looking like it was going to be in the shoulder area. Because Josh Norris, he needs to be in this lineup. If he misses a couple of games, sure, and I have hope that it's not going to be as bad as some people think. But we know with the history that until he goes by with seasons without a shoulder injury, we as Sens fans are just going to be pretty scared about that, because Josh Norris has played the best hockey of the season so far in these past 5 games. So Sens, they finished the game with a 6-0 win. Just unbelievable. Marilainen picks up his third shutout. I believe he's got to be up to a .925 save percentage right now. It's insane that we have gone this far without Linus Ullmark in the lineup, and we're doing this well, right? Florida and Toronto, they're pretty close in the standings with the Sens right now. I don't think that we are going to win the division, obviously, but this team feels legit. They feel legit. I'm still ready to get hurt just in case. Going into this game, the Sens had a 75% winning percentage. But it's got to be up there now. Like you got to be looking at 77 or 78 percentage of making the playoffs at the end of the day, because there's been a lot of really good hockey in the last, I would say, 40 games or so. We have one of the highest winning percentages around the league. We're up there with Washington and Winnipeg when it comes to, I think, November 25th. And right now they're on a 4-game win streak. I believe we're something like 7-2-1 as well. They're just getting it done. They're getting it done. And I'm feeling confident every single time I'm watching them play. It's pretty unbelievable. And the defensive performance from this squad, like, it's wow. We went through so many seasons of this team just struggling defensively and having moments where the opposing team would score a goal and you'd be like, how did that happen? How did we leave him wide open? Or it would be a simple shot from the point and the goalie wouldn't save it, and you're saying, how did you not see that puck? That's not happening this season. Maybe at the start of the year, of course, but really at all, there hasn't been a whole lot of issues, especially down this last crazy stretch. I don't have the number on me right now, but the Sens have to be one of the best goals per game teams in the league right now. They have some blunders, of course. You go back to the New York Rangers game. Sure, 5 goals against. But those games are going to happen, right? The Rangers lost today as well against Boston. As we're going to touch on the out of town scoreboard coming right up. But before that, I just have to tell you about Hyperdrive Hockey, which is one of the podcasts for Game Over. As Max, Daphne, and Kevin have you covered. There is a show every Tuesday and Friday, and you can catch it on all platforms. I prefer to watch it on YouTube, of course, but I'm not going to tell you which one to pick. So they talk all things hockey, really, basically around the NHL, but they also talk about leagues in Europe, prospects, stuff like that, just the top stories that are going on in the hockey world. So make sure to check that out. I'm running solo here tonight, so there's not going to be a whole lot of discourse on a whole lot of other things because I don't really have a whole lot to talk about right now. But we're going to run through, I guess, the out-of-town scoreboard here tonight around the NHL. So obviously, the Ottawa Senators come out with a 6-0 win. Thank you very much. Go back to this afternoon where the Boston Bruins come out with a 6-3 win over the New York Rangers. So 2 teams that are in the hunt for that wild card position, I guess, if you want to call it. The Bruins have fallen out, but they always find a way to get back into it. You can look at their goal differential, which right now they are running at a -26 clip still, but they have a worse goal differential than the Sabres, the Rangers, the Canadiens, the Islanders. There's like the Sabres. You have a worse goal differential than the Sabres, and you are, let me check here, 13 points ahead of the Sabres. It's insane, but the good thing is that the Bruins have played a couple more games than a lot of other teams in this race. So overall, I'm not too worried about them. But yeah, we'll take a look at the next score here. And we'll talk about the Leafs, who come out with a 4-3 win, unfortunately, against the Oilers. It's crazy that I'm talking about the Leafs. But the thing is, we're right there beside them. It just takes a couple games for them to lose and a couple games for us to win, and we could be at the top of the division, but I'm going to calm down. This was a big game here. The Islanders against Tampa. Unfortunately, we have a 3-point game there. But the Islanders win it in OT as they have won, I think, 6 in a row now, and they're right there now. They were in the basement. Because remember when we beat the Islanders 2-0 on the road, maybe 6 or 7 games ago? They were done completely, but they have mustered up a great amount of hockey in the last 10 games or so. They've won 7 in a row. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games. So they're 3 points out, right behind Tampa, but they're there and they're in the mix. So we'll see what the Islanders are going to do. Same thing with the Bruins. They don't go away. Next game. The Penguins win 3-0. The Penguins are kind of out of it, though. They are 6 points out with 3 games more than Tampa. So they're probably done. You never know, though, because we said that about the Islanders. The Panthers, they beat the Blackhawks this afternoon as well, 5-1 on home ice. It's to be expected. But that's pretty much it. The Hurricanes lose 4-2 against the Kings, and then the Jets beat the Capitals 5-4, but those are two teams that we don't really need to worry about really at all. So the Sens are now at a record of 28-20-4 in the league, and good for 30 in the Atlantic. The good thing is that Tampa, they tied the game up late today, but they still only got a point against the Islanders. You would prefer the Islanders to win that game because they are not in our division. So I'll take it. It's unfortunate that Tampa got that point, but of course Nikita Kucherov had to tie it up. So, in the standings right now, the Ottawa Senators are 4 points back behind the Toronto Maple Leafs. Same amount of games played. They are 5 points back for first in the division of the Florida Panthers with a game in hand. And the Sens are going to be playing Florida pretty soon. So we're going to see what's going to be going on there. In their last 10 games, the Ottawa Senators are 7-2 on a 4-game winning streak. And right now they have a +8 goal differential. Thank you very much, Minnesota, for letting us prop up that goal differential. Because I think they went to a -2 at one point after that game against Boston. But, when you win games, you're going to have more goals than you have against. So, and right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning are 2 points back with the game in hand. But the good thing is that the Sens are still holding that third spot. And the Columbus Blue Jackets are, wow, they are great right now. They're defying the odds. And honestly, if it came down to it, and the Blue Jackets beat the Sens for the second wild card spot, I would be upset, but that would be the best case scenario. Because the amount of, stuff they've had to go through with the death of Johnny Gaudreau and Boone Jenner also being out of the lineup, their captain, this team has gone through enough, and it's awesome to see that, guys like Zach Werenski are stepping up and putting on MVP-level performances, and 26-19-7 is a pretty good record for that squad. So it's nice to see them, be in the mix at least. And if they could beat Boston for the playoffs, that would be awesome. Because the time for Boston is now to fall out. If David Pastrnak goes out of the lineup, they're cooked. They're done. Absolutely no way, because he's also putting on an MVP-level performance right now. I think the difference between him and Marchand right now is 20 points. So if he's out of the lineup and gets injured, then Boston has to be done. The Detroit Red Wings are playing right now as we speak, as they are on the road against the Calgary Flames, and they are up 1-0. That's unfortunate, because the Red Wings have also been good, too. They are also on a 4-game win streak and are 3 points back at Tampa. So Tampa Bay is slowly, almost out of it, right? If they didn't get a point tonight, they would have been out of a playoff spot. With a +35 goal differential, basically. They're not doing good right now. And I still think that they'll make it. But as a Sens fan, you'll take it, because with Tampa's bad play, the Sens have passed them. There's an opportunity here for this team to grab a top 3 spot. I don't know what the odds are like for us to get, a home ice opportunity in the playoffs, but hey, that's a conversation for another day. But the Sens have 4 games before the Four Nations break, and that's when I think they'll have around 2 weeks off, other than Brady Tkachuk and Linus Ullmark. And we'll just be previewing that for our next segment here on Game Over for our third topic of the day. But before that, I just have to tell you about our merch. So please go check out on our website for merch. There's hoodies, sweaters, t-shirts, mugs as well, and other items that you can buy if you want to support us here on Game Over, which has been a startup because this is the first year that this company has run solo from Andrew Berkshire. It would be great if you could support us as well. And you can also check out our Patreon if you would like to make a donation as well to the cause. Okay, moving on to the next 4 games for the Ottawa Senators as they head out on the road. Right now, the Sens have a 16-7-2 record at home. On the road, they are 12-13-2, which is okay. And it's, honestly, I would even say decent. I'll give it like a B- rating because obviously you're probably going to be better at home than on the road unless you're the Minnesota Wild. But they have a 4-game road trip coming up. They have played 25 games at home and 27 games on the road to date. But after that, they are going to be at 25 home games and they would be at 31 road games. So there's going to be a lot of home games and down the stretch, especially in April, as I think 8 out of our 9 last games of the season are on home ice. So there's going to be a great opportunity to get a lot of points there. But that is in 2 months from now, so we don't have to worry about that. But the Sens are going to be heading out on the road. They're going to be playing on Monday. And the only game on the night against the Nashville Predators. This feels like a trap game. Linus Ullmark may be back. The thing is that, like, don't rush it. Don't rush it. It's great that we're winning all these games because imagine we were losing and we were like 5 points out of the playoffs and maybe kind of sending Ullmark in there sort of as a risky play and then he gets injured again. Like, you don't want that happening. So thank God for Levi Merelainen. Thank God for Anton Forsberg recently. He's been pretty great. Had a couple goals against Washington that were, I don't know, but it's Washington. So next game, the next day too, on Tuesday, the Ottawa Senators will be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then they're going to be playing them again on Thursday. So the Nashville game, if you have to drop one, sure. The Nashville game, you can't win them all, I guess. You want to win, obviously, but that's team in the Western Conference. If you lose that game, it's not the end of the world. But the two Tampa Bay games, they're both on the road. The Sens play against them on Tuesday and Thursday. Those games are so important if you want to bridge the gap. So important. I would expect Vasilevsky to be playing both those games, and I hope that Linus Ullmark can get in the net for one of those games. Because when it comes down to it, those are playoff-style games, right? Teams in your division that you're battling neck to neck with, you want your starting goalie in those games, especially on the road. Throwing Merelainen in there, I'm not so confident. And Forsberg, I want to be confident as well. So, if you could get 3 out of the 4 points that against Tampa Bay, that's perfect. You're happy about that. If you get all 4, awesome. But if you come out with like 0, ooh, that would be tough. Because then going forward, Tampa kind of has the edge on you in the division when it comes to that 3rd spot. Because I don't think Boston's going to grab that spot again. I don't think. They were holding on to it for the longest time, but it was because they had like 5 more games than a lot of the Sens and the Lightning. So those 2 games against Tampa Bay are going to be huge for the squad. And hopefully Jensen will be back. That would be key because then you can kind of have everyone healthy if Ullmark comes back as well, other than Nick Cousins, who unfortunately will be out for about 2 months, it looks like, with his knee injury against the Leafs just a couple games ago. And then the Sens will be playing against the Florida Panthers for their last game before the Four Nations on Saturday. So 1 week from now. And the Panther, we're kind of talking about hypothetical situations, but if the Sens grab, let's say, 6 of the 6 points, and I don't feel crazy for saying that because they're playing awesome right now, and it feels like they could beat anyone because they just beat the Caps, they just beat the Wilds, and then they can also beat teams like Pittsburgh. So that game against the Panthers, right? The Panthers go on a little bit of a slide, and the Sens go on. They continue this thing going for them. There's an opportunity there to, maybe take the 1 spot in the Atlantic Division, which you never thought would be the case. But the thing is that this team just needed to play the right way, and they have been doing that for the last 30 to 40 games. And you feel confident in them because they're kind of getting that new coach bump. So they didn't really know what it was like to be a winning team and have a winning culture, but now they know. And it's sort of like that honeymoon phase where everything is going great and you have these new habits that are going on, and you can kind of just play your game, play on instinct, and because you already have the defensive side of the game down, you can, like, when that is done and you're good to go in the defensive zone and your players are playing as a 5-man unit, the offense can kind of just take care of itself because you already have the talent on this roster. You even look at a guy like Adam Gaudette. He can score goals, and he's on the fourth line. So as long as you have your offensive players playing a good defensive game, you're probably going to be fine. Unless your goaltending stinks like you did see last year. But now the goaltending is awesome. But it is largely due to the fact that the players have been so damn good this year. I think leading in Corsi defensively is Jake Sanderson and Zub in terms of pairings around the league. So that pairing has been tremendous. And then Chabot has had a little bit of a renaissance defensively too, playing with Jensen. But even then, Chabot and Hamonic have been fine. Like that's their second pair, and Hamonic's been great since coming back from injury. We'll say that. And then the third pair, you got Clement and Matinpalo, the two trees back there. I think 6'3" on Matinpalo and 6'4", 6'5" on Clement. This team is doing great defensively. You could throw Ready One in there, and I'm going to trust them. So, Perron, we'll see. What he hasn't scored a lot, but he's doing his thing, and the Lions are looking great for the Sens. So I really have no issues with this team right now. And the fact that I'm talking about them maybe getting the top spot in the Atlantic, they could really take care of business here. But I'll hold off on that. But thank you for everyone for joining here on Game Over Ottawa. The Sens come out with a 6-0 win over the Minnesota Wild and bumped their record up to 28-20-4. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good night. Go Sens, go. And we will see you later.